Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, it's going to be a little bit more of a laid-back video. We are back again with another One Piece Treasure Cruise podcast. And just want to say off the bat, thank you guys so much for the continued support on the channel and just on this actual specific series in general. From the first episode of the podcast, which I know was quite a while ago, I did want to get one podcast in maybe like a week or two ago, but it's hard to, set aside, this amount of time just to, record straight for this amount of time, for just talking about One Piece, One Piece Treasure Cruise. But yeah, I am trying to get as much done for this series as possible because I know a lot of you guys do enjoy it. And I know, so many people were asking about, whether it be on iTunes or SoundCloud or something like that. Maybe sometime in the future, once maybe it gets a little bit more traction, maybe you can do that. But as of right now, it's going to be sticking to YouTube, unfortunately, for those people that were looking for that, kind of medium to listen or watch the podcast on. So, anyways, guess we're going to get straight into it. Now, one thing I do want to say is the fact that there are no guests this time. Now, I did definitely want to get guests on the podcast. I already have 2 people lined up, ready for a podcast, but it's hard with time zones. Time zones are the biggest thing right now, where I'll be ready to record and then other people are either asleep or not ready, or vice versa and stuff like that. So it's quite annoying trying to organize time zones for different people, because the 3 people, being me included, who were going to be on, all have different time zones. So it's kind of difficult to try and organize multiple different time zones to get people on. But anyways, I digress. I suppose it's about time we actually start talking about some Treasure Cruise stuff, but let's get into it. So, first thing, mainly the biggest thing actually since the last podcast, has been the brand new update on the Japanese version of One Piece Treasure Cruise that entails limit breaking. Now, limit breaking, when it was teased in the V-Jump magazine, I think it was a V-Jump magazine, wasn't it? I don't remember when it was a V-Jump magazine leak, like a month before the actual version came out, the brand new version with the with the limit breaks. We had that, and we were really wondering how this whole system was going to work, and now we have full details on the whole system and how it works and whether it's good or not. And just the first thing off, it is really good. This limit break system is really awesome, but it's really hard to do. The amount of materials that you need in order to max limit break a character is quite substantial. And I mean, even though it is quite a lot to max limit break a character, it is kind of worth it for the payoff that you do get. Now, obviously, we're not going to go through every single character that got a limit break, because there is a whole entire list of characters that got limit breaks, because not every character got a limit break, but some specific ones that the developers chose and decided that I guess these characters deserved a limit break, got one. So I guess we'll highlight just main units that you kind of want to limit break, because there are limit breaks that are kind of good and worth your materials, and then are ones that are kind of not worth your materials, because as of right now, recording this podcast, we don't have really many ways in order to get the materials in order to max limit break a character. The only way that we could actually receive them was through the ranking PvP clash event, where all the players versus the Doflamingo bosses, basically. That was the only way that people could get the crystals in order to limit break characters. Now, obviously, the potions were available from the Rebecca Island that was out throughout the brand new versions week. You could do 30 minutes a day on a 50 stamina and a 20 stamina difficulty, I think it was, or a 30 or 50. It was something like that. And you can get potions. Now, the potions were used basically the limit break system is kind of like a new level up system, and the potions were basically EXP, and then the crystals are used in order to progress through the limit break system to unlock certain nodes on that system to give you the abilities of limit breaking. Now, the majority of the limit break stuff is just going to be stat boosting nodes, being recovery, attack, and health up, which is still pretty good, because some characters that have that are insane, like Legend Akainu, who unfortunately got a limit break for some... who knows why he got a limit break, but his limit break is quite insane, because with max limit break and max attack cotton candies, he goes up to 2,000 attack, 2,000 flat attack, which is pretty bonkers. 2,000 attack is just it's stupid. It's actually stupid. But not only that, there are other abilities on with that. There are actually this new thing called limit break abilities, which I don't know if I'll edit on the icon or not, but these limit break abilities are specific to each character, so not every character will have the same limit break abilities, which is good. So it does bring some diversity into the system, which is good. But we have seen some trends with these systems. The biggest trend that we've seen is the fact that not all the shooter characters, but a majority of the shooter characters have a specific limit break ability that will allow them to basically allow their normal attacks to go through barriers, which is pretty crazy. But it only works if you're at full HP. So if you're at full HP and this character has that limit break ability, then it will allow that character's normal attacks to then bypass the enemy barrier, which is really, really strong. It's a really nice buff to shooter characters, but then again, as of right now, we don't have a really good way to do limit breaks to a lot of characters. Most people were only able to limit break like 1 to 2 characters at the very most. If anyone max limit broke more than 2 characters, then they went absolutely ham on the PvP event. But as of right now, only mainly 1 to 2 characters people have been able to do right now. So it's still pretty good. We're still, it's still early stages for this system. We don't really know how crazy it's going to get, and we don't really know if this is going to be a thing for every new character that comes out from now on, because what we've seen is that the Magellan batch and the Boa Hancock batch of characters, all of those rare recruits and the legends in that batch have had limit breaks, which are the 2 most recent batches. So we're assuming at this point that every new batch that comes out from now on is going to have the ability to then limit break, which is pretty cool. There are a couple of things you do need to know about though before you actually start limit breaking. I'm pretty sure that to start limit breaking your characters, they do have to be at max level 99. So that's just something for you guys to just know that, why can't you limit break a certain character that says you can? It's because you need to be at level 99 in order to do so. Then another thing you need to know is the fact that in order to... Okay, so when you unlock a limit break ability, right, it actually acts at, like... The way that it's displayed on a character is if you look at your character, there is now a new line of... Basically, they look like sockets. There's new sockets above the original sockets of a character, and they are a different color, and those ones are the limit break abilities. Now, each limit break ability is kind of like a socket, right? Because the limit break ability will have multiple stages. So, with sockets, you have to get 5 of a certain socket to max out that socket. Well, each limit break ability has then 5 levels. So you need to get 5 levels of that limit break ability to then max out that limit break ability. And each of these abilities have a much better buff, depending on what level they are. And the only way that we know right now in order to increase the level of limit break abilities is to feed duplicates of the exact same character's evolution line, or to feed them these things called guidance stones. Now, I don't think we have guidance stones given to us at all in the Japan version of One Piece Treasure Cruise, but those guidance stones, or tablets, I think they are, the guidance tablets, whatever they're called, they have icons on them depending on what limit break ability it is, and then you can feed that to a character and it increases their limit break ability by 1. So that's also the other way that we know currently on how to increase the limit break abilities and overall max limit break a character. So as of recording right now, there are actually, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different legend characters that have access to limit break. So we're going to list them one by one from the earliest release to the latest release. So there is Fujitora, Akainu, God Usopp, Magellan, the Sai Boa Hancock, Quick Law, and also the Quick Rob Lucci. So as you can see, they're mainly the newer based legends. The old ones being Fujitora, and I guess Akainu is semi-old at this point. But yeah, God Usopp, Magellan, Boa Hancock, Law, and Lucci all being like relatively new. I really don't understand why they're giving the limit breaks to some of the better legends in the game, like the new Rob Lucci, the new Law, Boa, and to a certain extent Magellan, and Akainu, of course. Those characters definitely did not need a limit break. Those characters by themselves right now are pretty good. So I am a little bit confused as to why these characters in particular did get a limit break. Characters that kind of did deserve one would be like the original Quick Boa Hancock. That would be amazing to get a limit break on that character. I'm just looking on the database right now of different characters that kind of deserve it. Rayleigh would be an amazing one to have a limit break. Same Goku, Stronghold Shanks even. Stronghold Ace would be good. Log Luffy. Like, Log Luffy with an ability to go through barriers, that would be so good for that character. But they missed the mark here, in my opinion. Marco would be a kind of a good one too. Who else would kind of need? I guess Dofi at this point, Jinbei. Like, there's so many characters that do need a slight buff to make them kind of compete with the current 6-star characters. I think that would be really nice. But I think they kind of missed the mark here. The way that they decided which units got a limit break, I think, was a little bit weird. Because some of the characters that did get announced to have a limit break were very strange. Like, obviously 5-star plus Luffy, which was like one of the banner units on the brand new update. He was definitely going to get one, which is fine. Raid Boss Mihawk, which is cool. And then they chose like random rare recruit characters like Izo, Apu, the Dex rare recruit Apu, the old character. Stronghold Usopp, Buffalo for some reason, Gladius. Gladius is actually pretty insane. We'll go through some of these characters a little bit later that are like kind of crazy with their limit break abilities. Who else that was kind of strange? Abdullah Ranjit was another really weird one, but his limit break is insane. We'll talk about him also later. Van Auger as well, the rare recruit Suru. Who else is there? All of the Neo, or the Secret, Kai, rare recruit characters, Log Kid, Fisher Tiger, the Strength Aokiji, the Purple Law, all of those characters, Ben Beckman, all of those characters received limit breaks. And as I said earlier, the Magellan batch and the Boa Hancock batch all got one as well. But yeah, okay, so let's go through some of these characters that are kind of really good with this limit break. So one character that I was very surprised got a limit break, but is actually super duper good, still a character that I don't own on Global, is the rare recruit Quick Gladius. Now, this Gladius gains a couple of different abilities from limit break. It gains a limit break ability called Critical Hit. Now, this will make it so that if you have this specific ability at level 5, it states that if you hit a perfect with this character, there is a 20% chance to deal an extra 1.1 times this character's attack as extra damage. So that's pretty cool. I think Akainu actually has this specific ability as well, giving you a chance to do a little bit more extra damage. Moving on, this guy gets a captain ability buff. Now, if we talk about his old captain ability, Gladius, you guys, most of you guys should know, the quick rare recruit Gladius gets a captain ability, boost the attack of quick characters by 2.5. Now, with the limit break ability, he gets a brand new captain ability that states boost the attack of quick characters by 2.75. So a regular rare recruit to have a 2.75 times attack captain ability is pretty goddamn good. I'm pretty happy about him getting a brand new captain ability. I'm really happy about that. Moving on though, he continues to get even better. He gets another ability in Limit Break, reduces your base special cooldown by 1 turn. So not all characters, but a large majority of characters in their Limit Break will have an ability that will allow them to reduce their base cooldown. So Gladius at max level has a 15 turn cooldown for his special ability. This specific Limit Break path will give you then a 14 turn base cooldown, which is really nice because he cuts HP of all enemies by 20% and gives himself a matching orb, which is really nice. So that goes down to a 14 turn cooldown. Then moving on, Gladius also gains a Sailor ability, boost the attack, HP, and recovery of quick characters by 30. So not a massive buff, but still pretty nice. After that, he gains an additional socket spot, so he goes to a 5 socket character. And then, the max level, he gains the barrier penetration, which states at max level, this character's attacks, regular attacks, will ignore barriers if your health is above 50%. Now, at level 1, which is what most people will have, it will be attacks ignore barriers when your health is above 99%. So, this character is honestly one of the best limit breaks that we've seen thus far. He becomes a 2.75 times quick captain, he gets 1 turn less cooldown, 5 sockets at max, and 2 limit break abilities being a critical hit and a barrier penetration, and he gains a sailor ability. Like, this is an insane character, dude. I really wish I had this character on Global because his limit break is very solid. Most high-level players won't really care about this character that much, just because a lot of people that are high-level do have pretty solid quick teams already. But for those people out there that are kind of the mid-tier level range of their pirate level, this is going to help out a lot. If you are lacking in the quick department and you do own Gladius, then maybe save a couple of dupes of him for when he gets his limit break, because you can use those dupes to power up his special limit break abilities, the critical hit and barrier penetration. So that will be very, very awesome to level those up. So I guess we'll move on to another character that really caught my attention in limit break. So another one here is the Raid Boss Kizaru. So everyone knows what Raid Boss Kizaru does. He's a quick shooter fighter, and he actually gets some limit break abilities that are very similar to the rare recruit Gladius that we talked about. He gains the critical hit special ability like Gladius. He gains a sailor ability, boosts the attack, HP, and recovery of shooters by 20. Pretty good sailor ability. He also gains an additional socket spot, so he goes to a 4-socket character. Now this guy's free to play, remember. 4 sockets. He then gains an additional captain ability, or like a buffed captain ability. So, reduces the cooldown of shooters by 3 turns at the start of the fight. Now, I believe it was 2 turns. Yeah, it was 2 turns before, so he basically gets 1 turn less cooldown as a captain, and then also boosts the attack of shooters by 2.35, when before it was 2.25. So you get an extra 10% on the attack multiplier, and also will boost the health by 1.5 to shooter characters as well. So his actual health boost doesn't change, but what will happen is that you get an extra 10% attack, and also you get 1 turn less cooldown at the start of the fight. And he also gets barrier penetration as well through limit break. So Raid Boss Kizaru, an amazing, amazing free-to-play limit break character. And just to talk about one more character before we move on from limit breaks, let's talk about Akainu, because I know a lot of people would be wondering about what Akainu actually does through limit breaks. So at level 4 limit break, he will gain the critical hit special ability from the limit break. So that's the one we talked about before, that you have a slight chance to get an additional 10% attack or whatever, so that's pretty cool. Moving on, at level 11 limit break, he gains a sailor ability. So Akainu gains a sailor ability that states, boost this character's attack against quick characters by 2 times. So what this means is that Akainu does not have any weak enemies when he's a sailor, because if he fights against a quick character, normally his attack is halved, but his sailor ability will make it that he will do neutral damage to quick characters, meaning that he has no weaknesses as a sub character, which is pretty goddamn cool. Moving on, he gains a new ability at level 15 limit break, and this one is called Enrage. Now what this says is that the Enrage ability, when you get hit, that in the next turn you gain a certain amount of attack. So what will happen is at max level 5 Enrage, Akainu will gain an extra 100 attack if he was hit in the previous turn. So with max limit break, Akainu goes to 2100 attack with the Enrage ability active. That's quite crazy. At level 19 limit break, he gains a special ability, reducing your special cooldown by 1 turn. So Akainu's special goes to a 17 turn cooldown. At level 23, he gains an additional socket spot, so Akainu becomes a 5-socket legend character. And at level 30, which is the max level for Akainu for his limit break, he gains a new ability called Slot Bind Reduction for himself. So this ability, if you guys know the Ambush Cavendish, now Ambush Cavendish has that preemptive attack that will bind your slots for 20 turns. Now we know that that is a big thing for Akainu, and he doesn't really play too well when he has his slots binded, but Akainu himself has an ability that will get rid of a certain amount of turns of slot bind on himself only. It does not do it for the whole crew, it's only for himself. Now, at max level of slot bind self-reduction, he reduces it completely for himself. At level 1, it's 3 turns, 5 turns, 7 turns, 10 turns, and then it becomes completely ignore all special bind on this character, which is awesome. It would be nice to have like a full team of slot bind reduction, and then you literally just ignore it, which is awesome. Definitely other legends that would get this, probably Nekomamashi would definitely get this if he does get a limit break. Probably Stronglord Shanks would probably get this as well. I could definitely see it. Just any unit that relies on getting orbs, specific colored orbs or matching orbs, they should have this. Honestly, this would be really, really nice to have, because Akainu definitely relies quite heavily on getting those special slot binds. Slot bind really destroys him basically, and Fujitora, the other legend, again relies on orbs. He also has slot bind self reduction, which is cool. So at least if you have this guy, he can still be doing damage by himself. because Fujitora is another one of those characters that literally becomes useless if he has his slots binded. So anyways, I guess that's kind of it with limit breaking. There's lots to talk about regarding limit break, but that's kind of just all I really wanted to just tell you guys about. And just, I think that it's really weird, you know, I don't know where it came from. Like, it was just weird seeing this on the V-Jump, like, a couple months back. No one really expected limit breaking to come to OPTC anytime soon, and no one really expected it to be like this, and no one also expected the listings of characters to get limit breaks as well. Honestly, what I would like is that with every new batch of legends, or every new batch of characters that come out during a Sugo-Fest, I would hope that they would release, like, more characters to get limit break. As I said, Neko Mamashi would definitely be one that I would like to see get one, because having slotbind self-reduction is pretty cool. Time Skip Luffy would definitely be a favorite for me. Strongwood Ace, he badly needs it, badly needs it. Who else would really good with one? Maybe Shirahoshi? Shirahoshi would be kind of cool with that. I don't know, there's lots of characters that do deserve it. It's just like up to personal preference which ones you guys really want to see to get a limit break. But yeah, I don't really know. It's interesting. I just hope that they make it easier to gain the materials in order to limit break, because currently, as of right now, getting the materials is borderline impossible, because you literally there's no way to get them. So maybe with the new game mode that's coming out soon in One Piece Treasure Cruise during October for the Japanese version, maybe that's going to be a way to get some of those materials for limit breaking, I would imagine. So we'll see how we go. We'll see what happens with next month, and if anything happens, I guess we'll talk about it here on the podcast. But anyways, that's about it with limit break regarding stuff. Interesting stuff. Very interesting. But it's time to move on now. I guess we'll talk about the new Sugo batches coming to Japan, right? Because the new Sugo batch is kinda crazy. I know the community over on Reddit went kind of ballistic once we found out what the new legend does. I did actually make a video on this as well, so if you guys did miss what his abilities were, I guess we'll go through it right now as well. But you know, I did make a full video with like full in-depth discussion about that as well. Also over on YOLOpool.com, I made a full article on the brand new legend Lucy and how he's actually probably the best legend in the game. So make sure to go ahead over to YOLOpool.com and read that article that I wrote. I actually am planning to write like more articles in the future, so if you guys like article style content instead, then make sure to head over to YOLOpool, because YOLOpool.com has some pretty cool stuff over there. I'm not the only one that's writing over there either. It's managed by Boris Anime, and he has some other people writing some stuff over there as well. And it's not just One Piece Treasure Cruise related either. It also has Dokkan Battle content. I think it's going to have Naruto Blazing content and maybe some other stuff as well. But yeah, it's basically it's planning on being like your number one place to go on articles and news and stuff like that. So make sure to go over to YOLOpool.com for all that information, because as I said, I'm going to be writing more articles on there in the future. But anyways, let's talk about the new Sugo batch, right? So Lucy, Legend Lucy, is a strength striker fighter character. Now, just looking at those classes, striker fighter, man, like, come on. Like, he is literally the perfect partner for Legend Blackbeard. I don't know why they did that. Striker fighter. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. Anyways, this character here, 3,020 health, 1539 attack, 390 recovery, captain ability, right? So his captain ability is kind of hard to explain, so I guess you're kind of going to have to listen in for this one. So as long as you have a strength, dex, and quick character in your crew, so you need one of each, boost the attack of strength, dex, and quick by 2.75, and their health by 1.3. So even that just by itself is a pretty solid captain ability. It then further states, if there are no psi or int characters in your crew at all, boost the attack by a further 1.35 times. So as long as your crew is consisting of pure strength, dex, quick, then you're going to be getting 3.71 times attack for free. That's so good. Like, this guy is definitely the number one legend. Like, there's no condition to fulfill in the middle of a dungeon in order to get that attack boost. He just gives it to you for free. But there is that restriction before you go into the dungeon. You have to build a team that doesn't have any yellow or purple characters. And I saw a lot of people arguing about this. People were just like, Oh man, this new Sabo, man, you can't even use silent characters, you can't even use Golden Pound Usopp. Like, oh man, he's not even that good. But I mean, Cavendish had a similar ability and no one complained about that. But, you know, all of a sudden this new character with an amazing attack multiplier has it, and everyone's losing their shit. But I think just people need to calm down, because people arguing saying that this guy is not good are crazy. They are delusional, because this guy is insane. 3.71 times attack, and there's no condition to fulfill in the middle of the dungeon, right? With Timeskip Luffy, you have to use his special to get that massive attack. With Akainu, you need Strength Orbs specifically to get his attack. With Neko, you need specifically anything that's not a Recovery or Tandem Orb. This guy just gives it to you, no matter what. There's no condition in the middle of the dungeon. You don't have to require any orbs, meaning that slot bind is not a thing for this guy. He does not care about slot bind. You're still going to be doing tons of damage. And not only that, right, we haven't even finished his captain ability. There's still more. It lowers the chance of getting strength orbs, but it makes dex and quick orbs beneficial to all characters. So not only are you getting continuous 3.71 times attack and 1.3 health right, you're also going to be getting a high chance of matching orbs, because strength orbs will not appear as often, and then dex and quick, so 2 types of orbs are going to be beneficial. Yikes, man, this guy is so good. This guy is very, very good. And as I said before, being a striker and a fighter type character, he partners really well with Blackbeard, because Blackbeard is a dex character, which already fulfills almost half of the condition for his captain ability for Sabo, and then Sabo himself provides half of the condition for Blackbeard. So you just need to bring, you know, a quick character, and then a slasher and a shooter, and then you're good to go. So, like, this guy is awesome. He gives you so much attack, lots of matching orbs, and if you need to deal with barriers, you just bring a Blackbeard friend captain, and you're good to go. Yo, like, this Sabo's busted. I don't know what goes through the developer's mind sometimes. I get they have to make characters more powerful in order for people to summon for them, but yikes, man, I think they went a little bit too far with this guy. So, that's Sabo Lucy for you. Very, very good captain ability. In my opinion, the best captain ability in the game right now. So, so good. Let's talk about his special, though. So, his special is a 19-turn cooldown initial. We don't know his max cooldown at the moment. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 14 turns. I'm going to say it's 14, but anything around that, probably 13 too, could be 13, honestly we don't know at this point. But what it does is it boosts the attack of strength, dex, and quick characters. So the 3 types that he boosts as his captain ability, he boosts them for his special by 1.75 times for 1 turn. Then, if you hit 4 perfects during that turn of the 1.75 boost, you will get a 2 times boost to those 3 colors in the following turn. Very, very reminiscent of his other 6-star character, the Psy Free Spirit related Sabo. Very similar to that. Gives you a 1.75 boost, 2 times in the following turn, as long as you hit 4 perfects. Very similar to 6-star plus Sabo, which is good, because that's a very good special ability. Because the great thing about this is, a lot of people don't realize this, right? Is you get that boost for 1 turn, then what's good is that you can clear that stage with that 1.75 boost, and then, because you hit those perfects, the way that this mechanic works with his special is the fact that you'll enter a new stage and the enemy will have their preemptive attack. After the enemy has their preemptive attack, you will then gain that 2 times boost that you were supposed to get. So this can be carried on through multiple different stages. It's not like, if you had to do that normally, right, you would normally have to do a 3-turn boost. 1 boost for that turn on stage, hypothetically stage 4, then when you move on to the next stage, it lowers that turn to a 2-turn cooldown, and then the preemptive attack by the enemy lowers it to a 1-turn. So that 3-turn boost will take you over to the next stage, but this boost is 1.75 for 1 turn, then it will carry over to the next stage, ignoring the preemptive attack, then giving you the boost. This mechanic is so good for Colosseums. It will enable you to just burst on multiple different stages, and the great thing is, right, you can have double Sabo, and that's technically 4 turns of massive boost, which is so good. Like, this guy as a captain is just busted. Like, he's the best captain in the game. Sure, you don't run Psy or Int characters, but I mean, it's the same as Akainu, right? In most Akainu teams, 99% of the or 90% of the characters that you run on an Akainu team are gonna be strength characters because they get the best benefit, and no one complains about that. So I don't really see the argument of, oh, you can't bring silent characters for this Sabo because you can run 3 colors with this guy. That's so good, and you're not restricted to classes. It's just colors. As long as you have one of each color, strength, dex, quick, and then the other 2 characters of whatever you want, you're fine. And then remember, your friend captain is also counted in that. So as I said, if you bring a Blackbeard, it means you only need a quick sub in order to fulfill the captain ability for Sabo in particular. So, like, this guy is very, very good. Honestly, my pick for the best legend in the game. But honestly, it comes to a point, right? A lot of people argue about which legend's the best, and I do understand it is kind of a fun thing to do, to argue for a point, for a side, you know, give your opinions on which character you think is the best in the game. But it gets to a point where at the top level, the top tier legends in the game, right? They pretty much all can clear the same content. So it comes to a point where which character do you like the most, or which best suits your playstyle? Because this guy will definitely be able to clear probably everything in the game. But the thing is, we already have characters that clear everything in the game. We have Gear 4, we have Nekomamushi, we have Akainu. We already have these characters that can clear everything in the game. So this guy doesn't really change much. It's just the fact that this guy's slightly better than the other characters. But, you know, they all do the same thing, so arguing which legend is better, I think, is kind of silly, which I do understand, even though I've spent my whole time here right now just discussing why this guy's the best. It really doesn't matter, honestly, at the end of the day, because they all clear the same stuff. So, it is what it is. If you guys already have the top tier legends in the game, and you have no problem with any content, summoning for this guy is kind of silly, because you can already do it. But, on the other hand, this guy's pretty cool, and he's new, and he's awesome. And apparently he's going to help with the new adventure game mode that's going to be coming sometime in October. So that's going to be interesting to see how this guy plays with that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Very, very good legend. But the other characters in this batch are actually kind of interesting too, because with this new batch, there are no silent characters. They're all strength, dex, or quick characters. So for the quick characters, we have Diamante and Bartolomeo. And then for the dex characters, we have Jesus Burgess and we have Cavendish. Cavendish and Barto work well together, and then Jesus Burgess and Diamante work well together. I believe Diamante is a delayer, and then Jesus Burgess boosts attack against delayed enemies, so that's pretty cool. And then Cavendish is a conditional booster, so enemies that have reduced defense, you get a 1.75 boost, and Bartolomeo reduces the defense. So they work really well together, and they work really well together because Barto being quick and then Cavendish being dex, and those are the characters that work together, means that you can run different types of teams with the Sabo as the captain. So this batch all work very, very well together. It just really depends on what kind of boost you need for what specific situation, whether the enemy can be delayed or they can't be delayed or whatever. You know, there's different units for different situations. So all in all, like, this batch is very solid just for the due fact that the legend is so good. The rare recruits are pretty solid. But the thing is, the characters are like so similar to the characters that we got in the Boa batch that it really doesn't matter. If you have the Boa sisters already, you know, you don't probably need these characters, but it's still really nice to have because all of the rare recruit characters in this batch, aside from the legend, are all driven characters. So these characters not only help the new Sabo, but they actually really help the new, not the new, but the driven teams, because at the moment, Driven are one of the weaker classes right now, and they do definitely need a buff of some kind. So having these characters is really nice for Driven-based teams. They give them a lot more damage output with really powerful conditional boosters. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I really like the fact that they are supporting a class indirectly. It is quite nice. I didn't even notice that, but someone pointed out to me the other day. They're like, yo, did you say that they're all Driven? And I had to really second look that. And yes, they actually are all Driven. I'm pretty sure Barto's Driven. Yeah, Striker Driven, Cavendish driven slasher, Jesus Burgess fighter driven, Diamante driven slasher. Cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool new Sugo batch. So to talk about something a little bit different now, we're going back over to the global side of things. There was a Reddit post on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit that really caught my attention. Now, this post was by, I'm gonna get the name right, Heath Tech. The title of the post was called Rare Recruit Rates number 220 Sugo version. So what this guy has done is that he has gone ahead and compiled a list, I guess, of the actual Sugo-Fest rates of pulling certain characters. Now, the post that he's specifically talking about here is the Neko Mamashi Cat Viper Sugo-Fest that has just gone by on the One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. Now, if you guys saw my videos on that, you guys would have seen how the Sugo-Fest went, and hopefully you guys had a good Sugo-Fest. Hopefully you guys got what you wanted, or got something at least that you wanted. But the funny thing is about this post, right, is the actual data that's been compiled. It's really, really interesting, right? So let's just talk about it really quick. Now, the link to the post will be in the description down below, so if you guys want to go ahead and check that out, that will be for you guys to go ahead and have a look. So the first thing I want to have a look at is, it's literally like the third subheading called Highlights. So Highlights is talking about the new batch in particular and the rated up characters. So the new batch being Kanjuro, Raizo, Pedro, and Carrot. Now, he actually has a specific listing here of what these rates were. So if we talk about them from top to bottom, we have Carrot at a 3% rate, we have Pedro at a 2.2, Raizo at 1.5, and Kanjuro at a 1% rate. Meaning that in order to pull Kanjuro, which, as most people would tell you, being the best rare recruit in this entire batch, has the lowest rate to actually pull. It's actually kind of interesting that they did that, especially because this Sugo-Fest is supposed to be striker rate up. Now, in my opinion, and from what other people have been saying, the rate ups that are on Sugo-Fest banners are a complete lie. Do not believe them. Even though it's a striker rate up does not have any effect on the legends that you pull. It does not have any effect on the red posters that you pull. The only thing that affects what red posters are pullable is whether it states that specific reds are specifically rated up. So the three ones that were highlighted in this Sugo-Fest being Cat Viper, Shirahoshi, and Trafalgar Law, Warlord of the Sea, the Quick Striker Law, those three reds in particular did have a pretty significant rate up compared to the rest of the 6-star characters. However, after that, literally every other legend had a very similar pull rate. So striker rate up is a lie, and the only thing that striker rate up really affects is the actual rated up characters that it lists on the Sugo-Fest banner. So characters like Orlumbus, Abdullah, and Jeet, those are the only ones that it really affects. That's all it's really talking about. So striker rate up is actually a lie. It doesn't actually say anything. It does not do anything. The only thing that it actually affects, as I said, was the rate up characters. Now, this is quite interesting because, man, I really wish that they were a little bit more open with the way that they talk about their gacha system in Treasure Cruise, because on the global version side at least, it definitely seems a little bit more suspicious, and it's going to be interesting to see how it actually works, because on the Japan version, they've got a full rate, so you can actually click a button and see what the percentage each is to pull each character during a Sugo-Fest. Even red poster characters, it tells you how much of a rate a character has, like what's the chances of pulling the character. Remember, it is all RNG at the end of the day, so you know, a character, it might say, oh, you're guaranteed to get it in at least 2 multis, but it still might take you 5 or 6 multis in order to get that character. You gotta remember that. But it's just the fact of, like, what is the chances of pulling it. Now, it definitely seems like the chances to get red posters on global is much lower on Japan. I've personally experienced this. I feel as if when I watch other people pull on Japan, their red poster rate is much, much higher than what it is on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. Now, there was a companion piece that was written by another user called Koriyukin, who was basically referring to the Sugo-Fest rates post and just some things that he pointed out. So I just want to talk about that. This post will also be in the description down below. So he made 5 points about it. He said, legends are not boosted by the current banner's class and or type color boosts. So that was what I said before. The striker rate up on that Sugo was a lie. It literally has no effect on the actual red posters that you pull, because striker legends like Whitebeard and Barto had the same rate being pulled as like Legend Boa or whatever. So, you know, striker rate up is actually a lie. Point 2 that he says, outside of the 3 featured legends, being Neko, Law, and Shirahoshi, most red posters on the Sugo had a 1.56% or lower chance of being pulled. Note that this was a double rate to get red poster banner. So that means the rate to get a red, other than the 3 boosted ones, is only 0.78%. That's not even 1%. That means that in a normal Sugo-Fest, it'll take you a long time to get a red poster, at being only like 0.7, which is ridiculous. Like that's so low to get a red on global, on a regular banner. It's less than 1% to get a red on a regular banner, and to get a red on this one, as he says, was 1.56. But then when you add the rate up legends, being Neko, Law, and Shirahoshi, it ends up coming out to like a 4% rate. Like the actual rate ups for Law, Shirahoshi, and Neko were pretty high, giving you around about a 4 to 5% chance of getting a red poster on a multi. So yeah, it is kind of sad to see that, because Japan's rates during their Sugos, during a double rate Sugo-Fest, it's 7% for Japan. So that means during their normal Sugos, it's 3.5. Which means that their regular Sugo-Fests are like our double legend rate Sugos. Like how disgusting is that to hear? That's just mind-boggling how bad they treat the global version of this game. I literally don't understand why the global version of this game gets the treatment that it does. It doesn't make any sense. And like other things that are just bad on global is the fact that we still never received that socket book island, and the thing is, Japan are about to get it again through their recent event. I really don't understand why global does not get it. It does not make any sense. It's not like it's got any copyright content in it. It's just a regular dungeon with bosses that you can just plow through and get socket books. Now, me personally, I don't really need socket books at the moment. I'm quite fine. But it's just for the other players, because I know a lot of people still really badly need soccer books, and we don't have that island, and it does not make any sense why. I really wish we had a statement saying why we don't get it, but I know that's not going to happen. I don't really understand it. There's just so many discrepancies between the two versions that doesn't need to be there. It really doesn't. Like double chance of skill up, like the skill up rates on Japan. Much higher on global, and continued on global, we still have the original rates to get skill ups as it was on day 1, and Japan have the increased skill up rates where I believe it's like a 1 in 3 chance to get a skill up rather than a 1 in 5 chance, which means that you don't have to farm as much technically to actually max out a character, which is kind of sad that global still has to deal with that. It means we have to spend more gems on farming, so it is kind of annoying. Moving on to point 3 of this post by Koryokin. He states, Bamco manually sets rates for individual characters. So yeah, he's basically saying that, for example, version 1 Zoro, Gear 2 Luffy, and Belmere exactly, they are manually boosted, so they're always going to be boosted, even though they're not striker type characters. And he says, they are, however, junk characters that Bamco wants us to pull, so they have nearly the same pull rate as the boosted striker characters and the featured rare recruits. Another piece of evidence is that Carrot had the highest chance of being pulled for a rare recruit, even though she's a fighter, not a striker. So again, still continuing just wrecking the global version of the game. Point 4, he says, newly released legends get an automatic nerf on their rates. See Neko's rate being the worst of the 3 featured legends. As a whale, I had a suspicion of an extremely long time, but finally, Heath Tech's thread has confirmed it. In my experience, it always is extremely difficult to pull the legend that was getting released, regardless of the money I spent. So yeah, basically saying, the new legend that comes out during a batch, that is the worst time to try and pull for it. The rare recruits is the best time to pull for it, but the legend is not the best time to pull for it, because they have extremely low rates to get. But remember, it is all RNG, so you could get really lucky. You get really lucky. And the last point, he says, these rates may not reflect those adjusted to high volume players. This line is extremely cryptic and scary. My own assumption means the following. If you are a whale and spend a lot of money on pulls, your rates will be nerfed further, making the units harder to get, because Bamco is a shitty, unethical company. So that's the thing, right? Is that this guy has like a conspiracy theory that the more money you spend on the game, the worse your Sugo-Fest rates will be. Now, I don't know if I buy into that theory, but I do have experience with, not myself, but other people I know who do spend quite a bit of money on the game, quite a lot of pulls during Sugo-Fests, and they still don't get what they want. Now, again, I think that just comes down to an RNG type of thing, because remember, if you are one of those people that do spend a lot of money on the game, you are going to have a lot of the legends, meaning that a lot of the time, when you pull a red, it's going to be a dupe. But saying that, there should still be some type of rate boost on the character when it gets released, because that should be, technically, in my eyes, the best time to pull a new legend is when it was released. I think that is what it should be. And this guy, Kuriokin, makes a direct comparison to a different game. Which one is it? Fire Emblem Heroes. So Fire Emblem Heroes apparently has a system that states that, like, when you, like, the more you pull on a banner, the higher chances you have of pulling the banner unit. Which is awesome. How sick would that be, right? If, like, I don't know how it would work, right? Maybe after 10 multi-pulls, right? The chance of you to get, like, the new banner legend is like 50% or something like that. Or like, it should be a guaranteed after 10 multis, because the thing about it is OPTC to pull on is a lot more expensive compared to some of the other gacha games, right? Dokkan Battle is obviously going to be a lot cheaper because the game does rely on you to pull to actually beat the content. So, you know, it does make sense why it is going to be cheaper to play. But, you know, Treasure Cruise isn't really reliant on the units that you pull, but it's still kind of annoying if you are going to support the game that much into where you're going to be spending a lot of money on the game. They should give you a little bit of incentive to continue to pull. You know, it is kind of annoying. And it's just another one of those things on Global where we still don't have the guaranteed red poster after X multis, whereas Japan have had it since their Shirahoshi Sugo-Fest. And we're now, what is it now, 3-4 Sugo-Fests after Shirahoshi, and we still don't have it? I got a sneaky suspicion that Global's probably not going to get that. I have a sneaky suspicion it's not going to happen, because since the Shirahoshi Sugo-Fest, we've had, like, Sugo-Fests that have stated that the 11th unit of a multi-pull has, like, a 10 times rate up for a red poster. Now, if we compare that to, like, a current, like the rates that someone has said right here, apparently the rates to get a red poster on Global on a normal Sugo-Fest is like 1% or less. So if that's times 10, it's still less than 10% to get a red poster from a multi. So that means 1 red every 10 multis that you do. And even then, it's not exactly 10% either. And remember, RNG is not in your favor because it's 10%. RNG is not in your favor. So, you know, I really hate it, man. I just don't understand why. I really don't understand why Global just gets the shaft, man. Doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. The game should be the same. They really should just be the same. I mean, I'm fine with Global being a little bit further behind. It makes sense. Global was released much further later on down the track compared to the Japanese version. I'm fine with it being further behind. It does make sense. I'm fine with that. It's just the discrepancies between the two versions is really, really bad. And it's definitely... it's allowing more global players to drift towards the Japan version of the game. And it's really, really scary because if more people play Japan, you know, people are not going to support Global, which will then further on mean that Global might not be a thing in the future, depending on the support that it gets. Now, obviously, there are still going to be people that do still spend on the game, which is it's normal, right? But if more and more people every day switch into the Japan version of the game, then Global OPTC is not going to be lasting too much longer, in my opinion. But I don't know. It's really, really heartbreaking because I love the game so much, and I've put so much time into the account that I would hate for Global to just go down the shitter. I don't know, man. I just really hope that the developers do fix the game up, because as it stands right now, Sugo-Fest are a trap. Sugo-Fest are a trap on Global, where Japan Sugo-Fest are pretty lit with their rates and their mercy rules for legends. It's insane. But anyways, enough complaining. Let's talk about something else. I guess one more thing to really just note is the fact that as of like today, the day that I'm actually recording this podcast, is the day that the Dressrosa event got announced on the Japanese version of One Piece Treasure Cruise. So there is going to be new story mode Dressrosa coming very, very soon, which is awesome. Good to see new story mode stuff. And there is a brand new sort of event. Now, I don't know exactly how it works, but we apparently have to share something. I don't know what we have to share, or like clear something 150,000 times, or do something 150,000 times, and you get a free legend. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty awesome, man. Japan OPTC continuing to be an absolute beast, because giving you a free legend for basically nothing is pretty awesome. And also, so that's 150,000 shares, right? At 300,000 shares, you get 20 free gems. Now, I was making the joke today that it's funny how Japan One Piece Treasure Cruise, they pay you 20 gems to get a red poster. I just think it's crazy. But one thing that has been stated is the fact that the red poster that you get given, apparently, I don't know if it's a selection or if it's a random summon, but the red poster that you get is from a selection pool, so not every red poster is able to be like received from the free legend selection or pull. We don't know if it's a selection or a summon, we're not too sure as of yet, but the legends that you can get are from a select pool, so not every legend is going to be available, not like the new Sabo, or Quick Lucci, Quick Law, Saiboa. If I had to guess, it's going to be probably a similar sort of pool to the 3rd anniversary free legend batch, being from like Whitebeard all the way to like Stronghold Shanks, Lucci, Sabo, those kind of legends, like the early game legends, like that originally came out a long time ago. I doubt they're gonna give us like, you know, something like the new Quick Law or Lucci or you know, the new Boa or whatever. I really don't think they're gonna make it like newer legends. They might maybe continue on and make it so that it'll be like a new batch of older legends. So it'll be like Stronghold Ace, Marco, who else is in that kind of era? Log Luffy. Actually, let me go to the database real quick. Because like, yeah, the old batch was Whitebeard, Rayleigh, Boa, Sengoku, Shanks. Who else is in there? Sabo, Mihawk, Lucci. So this new batch could be units like Stronghold Ace, Log Luffy, Marco, Crocodile, Jinbei, probably, what's his face, Roshinante, Corazon. Could be units like that. I doubt it'll be units like, you know, Doflamingo, Fujitora. It could be Fujitora, I don't know. But yeah, but then you move on to like the Admirals, Cavendish, and all those kind of units. So I don't really think they're going to give us those powerful units yet, but still kind of interesting that they are going to give you a free legend. Man, I wish Global got free legends. But I guess it's kind of like, I guess that's kind of it, I guess. You know, there isn't really much else for me to talk about right now. Yeah, there isn't really much else for me to talk about, really, that I really wanted to discuss with you guys in this podcast. But, you know, I've been going for nearly an hour now, so I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up. Hopefully next month I'll be able to do these monthly, not month and a halfly. I definitely want to get these out at least once a month for you guys, talk about the new stuff, give my opinions on it. I definitely want to get people on here as well, but it's hard. As I said at the start of the podcast, it's hard to fit people in with their schedules and the time zones and stuff like that, but definitely sometime in the future we'll be able to do that, and, you know, maybe webcam related stuff, you know, where we can all see each other. Or maybe a live stream of it too would be pretty cool. I know a lot of people would dig a live stream of the podcast as well. But anyways, that's pretty much going to wrap up the podcast, guys. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure to go check out the rest of the videos on the YouTube channel as well. Make sure to go check out my Twitter. A lot of people who have Twitter, make sure to use it, guys. Twitter's awesome. If you guys want to contact me in any way, if you want to show me something in your game, then make sure to tweet me at Toadski. Link is always in the description of every single video. You can go ahead over to my Twitter, follow me over there, and you can show me anything you want, because that's the best way to get in touch with me or to show me anything, is to message me on Twitter, or tweet me on Twitter. Don't really message me unless if like there's like a major issue about something. I don't really add anyone because my friend list is kind of full. If I want to add anyone, I'll put out a tweet. So if you're messaging me just to add me, then that's not the best way to do it, but currently I'm not looking for any friends. If I am looking for any friends in the future, I will tweet out, so make sure to stick around on Twitter for that. But anyways, thank you so much, guys. If you guys have made it this far into the podcast, I appreciate you guys for listening all this way. But yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.